Zootopia is a 2016 animated film directed by Byron Howard and Richard Moore. Judy Hopps, a rabbit from a rural town, fulfills her lifelong dream of becoming a police officer and moving to the metropolis of Zootopia. Her co-workers do not take her very seriously, as she is the first rabbit to ever join the force. She pursues a missing person named Otterton and enlists the help of a con artist named Nick Wilde. Along the way, they discover that predators such as Otterton are going savage and reverting to their animal nature, while prey, such as Judy, are not. Judy reveals this to the media, but her poor choice of words alienates Nick and creates greater mistrust between predators and prey in Zootopia. Judy and Nick expose Bellwether's plot to grab power by infecting predators with a serum that makes them go savage, spreading bigotry, and ruling through fear. In the end, Nick becomes the first Fox police officer, and the pair become partners. Zootopia is Disney's most overtly sociopolitical animated film in a long time, perhaps ever. Family-friendly entertainment is no stranger to important life lessons and thematic depth that goes beyond what one would consider for a film with a young demographic, but Zootopia is surprisingly bold in its subject matter. The theme of balancing your lofty dreams with a more realistic outlook of your goals is important, and the scene in which the former bully explains the nature of his previous behavior is significant to children who have probably had to deal with this problem. But by far the most intense and provocative aspect of Zootopia is how it does not back away from the touchier subjects of bigotry.
Well, our city is 90% prey, Judy, and right now they're just really scared.
Throughout the film, we don't get any numbers, but towards the end, it's explicitly revealed that predators are a societal minority in Zootopia, constituting approximately 10% of the population. A less visible population creates an effect frequently called the other, the majority's general misunderstanding and mistrust of what feels foreign or alien. Some evolutionary biologists claim that racism may be a symptom of tribalism in our earlier history, but the systemic institution of these practices in recorded history is social and not biological. The overused cliché in film and television in which a character tells another character that people fear what they do not understand may sound trite, but it is a fair definition of how the other plays into our lives. Although the swell of mistrust occurs due to the machinations of Bellwether, it's revealed through various scenes that prey are often unapologetically discriminatory towards predators. For example, much of Nick's behavior can be attributed to being mistreated as a child by prey who humiliated him and told him that they could not trust him to be their friend. Zootopia avoids using the phrasing the other or the word racism, and instead shows allegorical but easily understood examples of how differing groups clumsily interact with one another, as well as practical advice on how to overcome the distance between one group and another. For example, in one scene, a character named Clawhauser, excited to see a rabbit, calls her cute.
You probably didn't know, but a bunny can call another bunny cute, but when other animals do it, it's a little...
This is a reference to the manner in which one group can call itself certain words, but said words are verboten to other groups. The context of one group calling itself a word is not inherently negative, but the same word used by other groups do not have the same context, and therefore would be considered a slur. Another example is how Judy, unaccustomed to being friendly with a fox and having her own prejudices, struggles for a compliment for a fox and calls Nick articulate. Nick notices that this is patronizing. The implication of the context in which Judy said this is that foxes are not normally articulate, but that Nick might be. She actually insulted Nick's entire species while attempting to pay him a personal compliment. She doubles down on this later, saying Nick is not like other predators, akin to when a member of a majority racial group tells a member of a minority racial group that the latter is one of the good ones, having the same condescending, patronizing attitude, as well as offending the entire group instead of one individual. Zootopia broaches other racially sensitive topics, like segregated neighborhoods and restaurants. Judy meets Nick while the owner of an ice cream shop attempts to deny the fox service simply due to his species. Judy is consciously aware that this is a wrong-headed, backwards attitude, but her prejudice goes deep. She says one thing but clearly reacts another way altogether. Our prejudices are sometimes more reactive than thought out, and Zootopia acknowledges this. In the end, she recognizes her prejudice against predators and makes an effort to change. Fear, as they say, is the human condition. Our fears are necessary because we have evolved to recognize threats, but fear can also manipulate us. As a youth, Judy was bullied by a fox named Gideon. This memory unconsciously guides some of her actions. This is coupled with her parents' deeply paranoid attitudes about living in a city with so many predators, particularly foxes. They even give her fox repellent in a naked display of deep-seated prejudice. Fear of the other may be a biological carryover from an earlier time, but much of our bigotry is taught, passed down from parents to children. Even well-meaning people like Judy's parents can teach terrible lessons, either directly or through neglecting to explain to their children what is wrong about racism, misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, and other forms of systemic mistreatment of marginalized groups. Because of her parents, Judy wrongly believes that there must be something inherently deviant about predators coded into their DNA. This is not unlike antiquated, preposterous notions in the real world about racial superiority and scientifically disproved notions about one race having better brains than another. Shortly after saying this, she does not even realize this was offensive and wrong, walking over to Nick as if she obviously did the right thing. Almost nobody admits to being a bigot, incorrectly connecting prejudice and discrimination as the exclusive properties of fanatical hate groups, instead of facing the reality of casual bigotry and small-mindedness as everyday occurrences.
Say nothing of lions and wolves.
Wolves?
Weasels.
You play cribbage with a weasel?
Yeah, and he cheats like there's no tomorrow. You know what? Pretty much all predators, and Zootopia's full of them.
Judy faces her own form of prejudice, but it is less severe than the predators face. She is seen as harmless, given safe assignments, and decries this as a form of tokenism. However, while anyone can be discriminated and prejudged, it is only the minority that faces systemic prejudice. Systemic meaning that it is reinforced by the majority, either culturally, legally, or both, and therefore becomes a more prominent part of a society, a more noticeable and more severe institutionalized prejudice. For example, Judy faces problems in her life, absolutely everyone does, but her problems are rarely exacerbated solely based on the fact that she is prey rather than a predator. Conversely, predators are discriminated against singularly because they are predators. They have the same day-to-day problems that prey have, of course, but in addition to this, they have to deal with systemic, institutionalized prejudice. Judy has her own issues, but she is not presumed to be a threat to society because she is prey. Nick has his issues, and he is presumed to be a threat to society because he is a predator. Judy and other prey have the privilege of being generally trusted because of their race, or in this case species, whereas predators do not have that luxury. Systemic bigotry is not only enforced by the civilian population, but also by the government, and by extension, the police. It is deeply troubling and always arouses anger when someone claims that there may be racially motivated bigotry within the police force, but there is too much evidence to ignore it, and making excuses is not helpful to anyone. In an admirable display of courage, Zootopia does not shy away from this aspect of bigotry, showing Assistant Mayor Bellwether the mastermind behind the mistrust of predators, and even enforced by some police officers who are loyal to her. The film does, however, explore the possibility of a better, more sensitive police force as Judy learns a valuable lesson towards the end, and partners with Nick, a predator. There are lots of other examples in the film that relate to racial sensitivity. Nick touches Bellwether's wool without permission, prompting Judy to tell him that that is not allowed. I didn't learn about this until recently, but apparently this is a thing that some white people do with the hair of black people, and I swear to God I am not making that up. Zootopia also briefly touches on how the 24-hour news media can manipulate information. Judy's poor word choice is twisted into something far more sinister by the press. Bellwether says that fear always wins, And if one looks at how some politicians get nominated, there may be some uncomfortable truth in that statement. Popular media can be an important tool in changing the population's perception. Zootopia knows the true value of entertainment. Bear in mind that the most socially conscious character in the film is an entertainer turned political activist. Animated films take years to make, so it is only a coincidence that Zootopia was released during a time when racially motivated police brutality has made the news in my country. Not to mention overt, unambiguous, nationalist racism that has plagued the political landscape during this election cycle.
Meanwhile, a peace rally organized by pop star Gazelle was marred by protest.
Go back to the forest, predator!
I'm from the savannah!
But even so, Zootopia could not have come at a better time. Hopefully the children who watch it will internalize its message and become better than we are. Thanks for watching the latest episode of Renegade Cut, everyone. If you want to support the show, you can click the orange link to my Patreon. That's how all of this happens. If you want to subscribe and never miss an episode, click on the red link. If you want to watch more, there are some recommended videos below. I'll see you next week for another episode.